Welcome to the Israel Summit, a celebration of strength and resilience. I'm Ayan Hoffman, Deputy CEO of Strategy and Innovation at the Jerusalem Post and a senior correspondent. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Tzvika Klein, Interim Editor-in-Chief of the Jerusalem Post. Today's event is dedicated to honoring the enduring spirit of the State of Israel. We'll discover inspiring stories of resilience and growth as we delve into the efforts to rebuild the South, and we'll explore the significance of Aliyah.
We'll have a chance to indulge in a unique virtual shopping experience, learn about two companies whose products are uniquely from Israel, and click on our webpage to shop. In addition, several Israel activists will tell the stories of how they have become empowered to make a difference for Israel.
So we have a lot of excellent people here in the studio with us here today. But first, opening remarks from President Isaac Herzog.
Dear friends, I'm speaking to you from the President's residence in Jerusalem. Jerusalem, the beating heart of the Jewish world. My voice goes out to all of you who joined this Israel Summit broadcast. In this time of heartbreak and devastation, it really is so important to still recall and to still celebrate our strength and resilience. And I'm grateful to the Jerusalem Post for doing so here today. Brothers, sisters, and friends, 3 months ago, a terrorist army carried out the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Since that terrible day, we've been filled with grief for everything lost, for our beautiful men, women, and children, brutally tortured and murdered, for the overwhelming destruction in our beautiful communities, and for the way things can never be the same again, and for our brothers and sisters who are hostages in Gaza. Still now, more than 130 hostages are being viciously held captive by Hamas in violation of every legal and ethical norm. Still now, our soldiers are on the front lines, fighting to defend and protect our people. And at the same time, the resurgence of global anti-Semitism, that poisonous doctrine of hatred, has shocked us all and exposed the close link between Jew hatred and Israel hatred. But friends, in the face of this great darkness, we've also seen tremendous light. The light of Israel and the Jewish people's strength, spirit, and resilience. We've seen countless acts of Jewish heroism, sacrifice, and mutual responsibility that have been inscribed in Jewish history forever. They show our remarkable unity and solidarity of all citizens of Israel and all friends in diaspora and around the world, which are the true source of our strength and resilience. They are there for us now and have always been for our people. So, dear friends, we will rebuild. We will hear once again the sounds of children playing in Be'eri and Kfar Aza, Sderot, and Ofakim. The beautiful communities of the Western Negev will flourish once again. We will all rise again. I would like to thank all of you for supporting us in these dire moments. I want to thank the Jerusalem Post and its CEO Inbar Ashkenazi for organizing this important summit, and to wish my good friend, Interim Editor-in-Chief Tzvika Klein, all success in his new role. He is a huge expert in the Jewish story worldwide. This war has showcased just how critical the flow of precise information is. And I'm so grateful to the Post for being the gateway to Israel to millions worldwide in so many ways, in its print, online, and social media platforms. I thank you for tuning in today. Together we will win this war, and together we will emerge stronger, more resilient, more united than ever before. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you very much.
Our first interview needs no introduction. Before we can talk about the day after, we must remember the day of. Amit Salvi is the chairman of Kibbutz Be'eri, located only 9 kilometers from the Gaza border. The community was one of the worst hit by Hamas terrorists on October 7th. He will be interviewed with Rachel Goldberg-Polin, the mother of Hirsch Goldberg-Polin, who was maimed and kidnapped by Hamas for the simple crime of dancing. They will be interviewed by Tamar Uriel Be'eri.
Amit, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Amit, you served as special forces as an officer during the Yom Kippur War. What is your take on the comparison being drawn between October 7th and the Yom Kippur War from your experience?
Well, this is a totally different situation, totally different atmosphere. I was young, 20 years old, serving as a trooper back over there. And now I'm old, 70 years of age.
70 years
and this
young.
is civilian war. I fought against troops, the Syrian troops, the Egyptian troops. Here I escape in my teeth beneath my skin in the last moment from the pogromist. It's totally different story.
The comparison doesn't draw you.
The comparison doesn't match anywhere.
As a leader of a community for quite some time, how do you bring some semblance of calm or peace or something to that effect to a community that's been so heavily impacted and traumatized and hurt by the massacre on October 7th?
First, I have to. Somebody has to take the control and do the best he can. The community is hurt, sufferingly, totally destroyed mentally. So it has to be someone who people look up to him. And I took the rope, to do that. It's very hard. The community is very hurt. We're still in Dead Sea, the David Resort over there. Some of my people came back to the Be'eri and they start working there and maintenance the place. So I think it will be all right. But you have to be very optimistic after this kind of event.
Right. It's not easy at all to come back.
It's not easy at all. Some people maybe will not come back at all. But I think the most of the community will be back.
It's their home after all.
It's their home, and we're used to it, and we want to rebuild it. And this is our home. And I'm for sure coming back. But I hope my kids also, and my grandkids also. So eventually, in about 1-2 years, probably, the majority of the community will be back after we rebuild again the houses. We have in Be'eri 125 totally destroyed houses, 95 killed, 7 still captured in captivity, abducted. So it's a hurt community, but it's a strong community. We have enough people, power people, aspiration people, to build it again.
No. I'll add Rachel to our call. In your speech in the United Nations just a few short weeks after October 7th, I think there was not a dry eye watching the video. It was truly an incredible speech. And during it, you said, "I live in a different universe from all of you." Has there been any change between then and now?
No, except maybe we're sort of drifting farther from you. What's unusual about what we're experiencing is that unlike normal trauma, which hits you out of nowhere and knocks you on your, flat on your back, but eventually, for everyone, it's different timing-wise. We decide, when are we going to roll over? When are we going to sit up? When are we going to try to stand? When are we going to try to take our first step forward to try to move forward from whatever the trauma is? Our trauma is continual. It is like a slow motion, stretchy trauma that is still happening. And so the pain deepens as opposed to getting, again, when you get hit blindsided, you might have broken bones and you might have deep bruises and you may have stitches, but they start to heal. We're still being torn open. And so the pain intensifies. with each day.
And yet you've been incredibly vocal in this time of unimaginable pain, truly, and it's been truly inspirational. And, you know, I'm just curious, what fuels you? What allows you to push forth in this endeavor?
Well, I think truly that it is a very primal, innate, maternal and paternal, it's almost an animalistic response to your loved one being in a life and death situation. And there's no more motivating mission than feeling that we have to run to the end of the earth to save Hirsch's life, to save the lives of all of the hostages who are still there. And we know that they just don't have time. And we know that the priority of getting them back is falling each day lower on the list of priorities of everybody. So we are very motivated to keep it at the top of everyone's agenda. And we always encourage people to really look at everyone there as their son or their husband or their father or their daughter. And then sometimes for just a fleeting whisper, we have someone who's 100% empathetic with our plea.
Mm-hmm. How do you see these kind of oppositions to the effort to bring the hostages back? Where do you see that coming from?
Well, I mean, I think that I'm not a politician and I'm not a military strategist and I'm not a diplomat or an ambassador. I'm just a mother who wants her only son home. I do think that we have a tricky look. I don't envy the leaders who have to figure out this conundrum of, we have been told we have a two-pronged approach. One of our missions is to diminish Hamas's military capacity so they can never replicate an October 7th again, which obviously is absolutely essential. And we're being told at the exact same time, with the exact same intensity, we're trying to bring the hostages home. But as we've seen, since the war started, the war goes 24/7. There's not 1 second that we're not working on the war. And as we have seen, there are days and days that go by that we're told, people aren't coming to the negotiating table. People aren't having, professional negotiators 24/7 working around the clock, trying to come up with innovative, creative, insightful, different ideas to further that second prong that's supposed to be just as important as the first prong. So, a lot of people are concerned, rightfully so. We know that our people are dying. We know that. So
it's not an easy situation to deal with. Amit, I'll kind of turn to you for a response to that. Do you see, as a leader in one of the most impacted communities by October 7th, that this is something that isn't being handled correctly in terms of the prioritization of bringing hostages back from Kibbutz Be'eri as well?
Well, as Rachel said, I'm not a politician and I'm not a strategic and anything. But this kind of two ways has to go together and be in the same point of knowledge, of knowing of the leaders. There is no kind of no sense of victory if the hostages will not come back. No sense of victory if the Hamas and the organization be there. So it's two-way, has to be coming in one point, and the victory, or not a victory, to live there continually, you have to have the hostage back. We missed this 7 from our people, still there. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know where are they. We're working hard, very hard, in all direction to bring them back. But this is a situation that it's dependent on, on a global strategic of the government or the Qatar and the United States and whatever. But victory has to be both. People has to come back. We want to come back to this area, and we want our hostages back home. We miss them. Especially, we have a very good friend, Ohad Ben Ami. He's one of our hostages. I need him as much as I miss him. But we miss it all. We miss them all.
It's a delicate balance
It's a
between
very
the two.
delicate balance. I don't envy of the leader that try to figure it out, but they has to know there's no victory if the hostages will not come back, and they have to know. Second, there is no victory if the Hamas military will be there. So it's a very delicate situation.
Not an easy one to handle
Nope.
at all. To sum things up as kind of a last point to both of you, I'm curious, what message would you have to the hostages currently being held, whether it's those from Kibbutz Be'eri, whether it's Hirsch? What message would you have
From
now?
my point of view, we're working very hard. We don't forget them a minute, a second. We love to have them back home. We're working very hard. We're going to demonstrate. We're speaking with everyone who needs to be spoken with. We miss them, and we're thinking of them, and we're trying very hard to bring them back.
And finally, Rachel, what message would you have for Hirsch if he were watching this?
Well, my mantra that I've been saying to him now for 90 days is, I love you, stay strong, survive, we're coming. And I would also just like to add, in addition to what Amit was saying, we value life. That's what makes us different. We really value life. And so there will be a precious price to pay. Don't wait. There's no reason to wait. When Gilad Shalit was taken hostage on the first day, Hamas said, we want 1,000 prisoners. We waited 5 years, and then we gave them 1,027. Don't make us wait. Don't make those people die there. We'll never recover our identity as a nation if we sacrifice these human beings who are waiting there. They're waiting for us to come and get them. And it will be a steep price, and that's who we are, and that's who we're proud to be. And Hirsch, we're coming to get you, and I love you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you, Amit, for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
We are now fortunate to hear from Gil Shwed, CEO of one of the world's leading cybersecurity companies, Check Point. This will be Gil's first interview since the October 7th massacre, when undoubtedly the country has been targeted by uncountable cyber attacks. He will be interviewed by Speaker Klein.
Shalom, Gil Shwed. How are you doing in these days?
I'm doing quite fine, like everyone in Israel. Situation around us is not very happy, but we continue to live under the war.
Yeah, 100%. I know in Checkpoint, there's many people who are on reserve in the IDF, and you still have clients abroad, as well as families that are struggling to kind of live the day-to-day life. So I assume it's not an easy situation.
It's not a simple situation, though I must say that our employees in Israel are doing their best and are filling up for the many people that are serving us on reserve duty, trying to support the families. And I think in terms of running the business, we've been committed to our customers and partners that are like 97% around the world, that we continue to deliver and they can trust us.
Right, 100%. Now, the issue of cyber attacks is something that we hear about and we read about a lot. I don't think most of us understand the extent of how major these threats are, and some of them actually take effect on what's going on here in Israel.
So we absolutely see cyber attacks on Israel more in the war and very much related than we've seen before. Overall, there's about 20% more attacks on Israel. The government sector is attacked around 50% more. Ransomware attacks are also growing with 20% more. There's what's called wiper attack, which goes on a server and deletes all the data, which we've seen too. So clearly we're seeing more severe attack and more of them.
Right. Actually, the Jerusalem Post site suffered from attacks like this on the first, I would say, week and a half of the war. So we definitely kind of felt it ourselves. I think, that's a threat that many Israelis are experiencing. I had a different question I wanted to ask you. I read an article where the headline was saying that you think that now is the time after October 7th for Israelis outside of Israel to return to Israel, to their home. But also, like a few months before, you were saying that maybe if you were to reestablish your business, maybe you would have done it outside of Israel. That was a few months before. So did anything change in your personal view or feelings during this time?
First, me and Checkpoint, we've always been fully committed to Israel. Despite the bad things we're suffering here, I think Israel is an amazing place to live in. I don't want to live anywhere else, and so does Israel. I think my comment from a few months ago was mostly related to issues that are more regulatory and oriented rather than where I want to live and where there's good people. There are amazing people in Israel, and actually the last 3 months have shown it to us more than ever.
Right, because there were talks, I remember just a few months ago, about many tech companies that were considering or actually moving some of their activity to the United States or to other countries outside of Israel, mainly for political reasons, but also regulatory reasons. Have you, because you're in that sphere, there also are talks now about actually the opposite of actually people who are living in the U.S., Israelis who are actually coming back or considering coming back to Israel?
Well, we're seeing both. Unfortunately, by the way, during the war, there is a small number of people that I understand that have a fear living under the daily missiles and so on. So we did see some people that leave Israel, at least for a short period of time. Again, it's not big percentages, so I don't want to make that a phenomena. But overall, I think we Israelis are very committed to our country. I think it's amazing to see how people are being drafted to protect the country, how people are committed to the company. Even when they return from the reserve duty, they try to fulfill also their commitment to work. So I think the Israeli people have proven themselves beyond doubt in these few months.
Right. So returning actually to your activity in Checkpoint, can you give me an example of how substantial and how central Iran actually is in these cyber attacks? Because again, it doesn't necessarily, pull up in Persian, but the assumption is that they are the ones that are actually fueling and feeding this entire beast.
So that's absolutely true. We've seen about 10 different types of attacks that are all kind of sponsored by Iran. 10 are groups that are directly Iranian, and 5 are groups that are directly Iranian, and 5 are directed by the Hezbollah, which is also very much influenced by Iran. They carried a lot of cyber attack. We can see specifically the attack, specifically who's behind it, and they've been targeting everyone in Israel, and they are part of like 200 overall hacking groups around the world that are trying to attack us. Actually, the Hamas was actually weaker in this period of time in terms of attacking in Israeli cyber attacks.
Right. And can you give me like an example of how you were involved in actually combating these types of phenomena?
So I think once we've gathered the intelligence and understood the type of attack who's behind them, we did reach out to our customers. We did show them the specific attack. We did show them the protections that they need to activate to stop them. And I think it's doable. It's unfortunate that not everybody is using that, and some people needed to install new technology. But for many people, they had the technology, and it was just making sure that the technology is operated in the right way and can block this attack. And this was very, very successful. We did it also in the big groups, in like big forums when we spread the data and invited people to join us. And we have also called specifically some of our largest attacks. We went on site and checked various systems ourselves to make sure that we can actually protect them.
Right. So I have a final question. I think you're an optimist from what I kind of sense and feel, but has anything changed within your views or your life? Obviously we're all affected by this war, but something that's changed that you think of differently or are doing differently on your personal level, not on the business side, as a result to these events?
I think all of us in Israel live this situation in a very, it touches all of us. We can't see a single person dead without feeling bad. We can't, the people that were taking hostages, we all care about them, and I think it's touching everyone. Me personally, I remain optimistic. I think it's kind of, we've seen a lot of good things in the Israeli society when people support each other, when we support, all the different organizations in Israel that support the society have done an amazing job supporting. We still have to remember, we still have in Israel over 100,000 people, maybe close to 200,000 people that are away from their homes and need support, and everybody supports them. It's from, helping with their schools, and sometimes even sending them homemade food so they feel a little bit more at home. And I think seeing that in Israel, especially after the political turmoil that we've seen over the last year, actually does give us some sense of optimism, despite the challenges that we still face.
Right. And by the way, I'll just add, it's not just homemade food, it's also chefs who just come and create this stuff. So it's a really special and moving time. And hopefully, I guess we could take from this and move it forward towards the future. So Gil, Shwed, thank you very much for being with us. And let's hope for better times.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'd like now to introduce Professor Daniel Chaimovitz, President of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev. BGU is located in the southern city of Be'er Sheva, and since October 7th, the entire BGU community has been stricken by grief and mourning at the loss of students, staff, and faculty who were murdered or killed in the line of duty. But even as the war rages, BGU is looking at how it can take a leading role in helping the community rebuild. Professor Chaimovitz will be interviewed by Herb Kanan.
Hi, good afternoon. We're here with Ben-Gurion University Professor Daniel Chaimovitz. Professor, thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Look, you're the president of a leading Israeli university, but I actually want to start off by talking about something that's going on in academia in America, if you don't mind, and that's the resignations of the two presidents after the congressional hearings, after the disastrous congressional hearing, in which you wrote, and I quote, you wrote, "In what world is calling for the genocide of Jews context dependent? In what world does a university president leading one of the world's supposedly bastions of liberal thought and critical thinking have difficult saying calls for genocide are only crimes if actionable?" So my question to you, sir, is in what world does this happen? I mean, what does this say about what's going on in American academia?
Well, I wrote yesterday that I take no joy in the fact that these presidents resigned. I think it shows a marked failure of higher education that we got to this point that they had to resign. When higher education gets taken over by lawyers, when higher education gets taken over by people giving advice on what to say and what not to say, when people are afraid to just take clear moral stands, that's when we get to the ridiculousness of the Holocaust is context dependent. My only hope is that this really unfortunate incident might cause the pendulum to start swinging back the other way to some type of sanity on campuses.
Do you think it will?
I think what this has exposed is a latent anti-Semitism, which has been present on campuses even since I was an undergrad at Columbia in the early 1980s. And we've talked, we can talk for hours about what anti-Semitism it is and how it's expressed, but this sort of brought it to the forefront. And I hope now the universities can get back to doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is research, training the young minds of tomorrow, and making clear statements on what is acceptable and what is not.
Do you think this will be a watershed moment?
I think this is a watershed moment. I've seen it already in my Israeli colleagues, especially in the social sciences and humanities, who have started questioning the basic tenets that they've taken for granted in their academic fields over the past few decades. This will lead us to re-question what are the questions of power struggles, what are power relationships in academia and the way we interpret things. And it will lead to maybe some clear voices of what diversity and excellence actually is.
Do you have much contact or dialogue with your colleagues in American universities, presidents of the universities?
Oh, sure. You know, I can't believe I'm about to use this word, but we need to put these things also into context. While these three university presidents really failed the test of leadership, many universities had very, very clear statements about October 7th, very clear statements about anti-Semitism, very clear statements that they reacted on their campuses. I can name a couple such as Arizona State University, Drexel University, University of Pittsburgh, Princeton, many others. So we can't take from these three Ivy League universities and several others as that all higher education has completely gone overboard.
Mm-hmm. Look, I understand that, from what I'm reading, there are a lot of American Jewish students who are committed. They're kind of concerned to going to campuses in America right now. Is this an opportunity to attract American Jewish students to the Israeli universities, to Ben-Gurion University?
Oh, it's a clear opportunity for American students to realize that the education in Israel gives them everything they would have gotten in an American education, but in a place where they can fully appreciate and develop their Jewish identity and at a fraction of the cost. I mean, tuition at Ben-Gurion University or at all the Israeli universities is less than $5,000 a year. So you question, what is your return on investment? Actually, while I'm here in the States, I'm actually talking to you right now from the United States, and I'm talking with a group of people about how we can develop a program that would be attractive to American Jewish students to do their higher education in Israel.
Interesting. And let's turn now to the October 7 massacres and what role Ben-Gurion University has now in rebuilding the South after the war.
Yeah, thanks. Well, even before the war, we need to realize what's the history of Ben-Gurion University. We were put here by a governmental decision in the 1960s to build and develop the Negev. David Ben-Gurion, back in 1963, said that he envisioned a Hebrew Oxford or a modern Yavne in the Negev. And this was at a point where there were more camels than people in Beersheba. But Ben-Gurion himself realized the importance of higher education in developing a region. Our narrative has been before October 7th that Ben-Gurion University is arguably the most important university for the development of Israel, if we believe that the development of the Negev is important or is necessary for the future of our country. But post-October 7th, this has been put on steroids. It's clearer than ever. Even the way the university responded, already on October 7th, that 500 of our students volunteered in Soroka Hospital dealing with the almost 1,000 injured, the casualties, with thousands of their families coming in. 500 of our students descended on the hospital, volunteered, not because we called them to do it, because they understood it was what they needed to do. The next day, hundreds and then thousands of students got involved in the various, what we call war rooms, not really war rooms, in the distribution centers that were set up in the South. They were led by our students. Our campuses in Eilat, Sde Boker, Beersheba house schools for the people from the Gaza envelope who became refugees in their country and no longer had a place to teach their students. So we opened their children. So we opened up the schools, relocated to our campuses. We gave the facilities. Mm-hmm. And if we look forward, everything that's going to be needing for redeveloping what was called the Gaza envelope, and now we're trying to find a new name for it, is going to be dependent on the expertise that will come out of Ben-Gurion University, whether it's in urban planning, whether it's in sustainability, whether it's in tourism, in medicine, in mental health, in all of these areas that you need academia coming out. And if we're looking for new places for employment, the high-tech industry in the South has been completely built by Ben-Gurion University.
Are there concrete plans now, new programs as a result of what happened in October?
Well, we're working on this as we speak. So right now, we're moving from disaster mode to planning mode. Disaster mode meaning way before the government made any decisions, the university was giving out financial grants to all of our employees and our students. Just to put things in perspective, we've had over 90 casualties in our Ben Gurion University from October 7th in the war.
Wow.
Hundreds of refugees of both of our students and our employees. And we still have one student who's being held hostage in Gaza. So we were immediately affected. So we took financial responsibility for our own people. But now we're in discussions on how we can help, how we can have a major role, what that major role will be in the rebuilding of the Negev. And it's basically taking our mission that was there before October 7th and putting it, as I said, putting it on steroids. For example, in building a new ecosystem in the South.
Well, what percentage of your student body right now is in Miluim? Do you have any idea?
Well, at the start, a week ago, we had over 6,100 students in Miluim in reserve duty. It's about almost a third of our student body. Now it's gone down by about 2,000, and hopefully we'll have most of them back on campus. But when the school year started, we had 1/3 of our students on reserve duty.
So are there mechanisms in place so that those soldiers in reserves, and they don't lose ground, that they stay apace with their colleagues who are able to be in classes right now?
Yeah, sure there are. Herb, well, first of all, we need to remember that while this is a larger event than we've ever known, we know how to deal with the reserves. My generation, it was the first Lebanese war. The generation before us, it was the Yom Kippur War. We've gone back to classes while the university is at war. So we've rebuilt these mechanisms. So for example, in about 3 weeks, we're going to take a pause in our academic year and have a week review so that the reservists coming back to university can catch up on their classes. We're having private tutoring. Some classes will be given again in the summer. We've made a commitment that no student will be left behind because of their reserve duty.
Great. Thank you, Professor. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. I want to thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, Herb. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We will now hear from Inbar Shashua Bar-Nir, chairwoman of the Shashua Family Foundation, an Israeli philanthropic foundation. She is also the co-CEO of the House of Social Solidarity, which was established as a natural arm of the Shashua Family Foundation. She will be interviewed by Mayan Hoffman.
Hi, thank you so much for being here, Inbar. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, I want to start out by actually talking a bit in the big picture, talking about the philanthropy industry in general post-October 7th. On October 6th, most foundations knew who they were giving money to, how they were giving that money. But on October 7th, the needs of the state of Israel completely changed. How did you and your colleagues react? Did you shift gears? And if so, how did you shift gears?
Yeah, I think just to give context before we get into October 7th, our foundation is an Israeli philanthropic foundation. It's called the Shashua Family Foundation. And on the day-to-day basis, we focus on three main activities. The first is populations at risk, specifically children, youth, and young adults. The second is education, focusing on scientific and technological education in the periphery of Israel. And the third one is small businesses through our entrepreneurial arm, which is called the House for Social Solidarity. So that's just to give you the day before. But I think when October 7th hit, none of us were prepared for this magnitude of an event. And we decided to stick with the familiar, but also think of new areas and topics according to needs that we saw as important from the field that we work in. So the first thing is creating immediate support for areas of health, gender equality, employment, populations at risk, just to get the help out there to the organizations that are already on the ground. That's, I think, was the first step that we took. The second is thinking about the small businesses that we're already in contact with and creating emergency grants. And the third thing is thinking about new areas. And what we decided to go with after doing our research and talking to nonprofits and professionals in the field is focusing on early childhood. And we're still in research about this new topic. But think we're not the only ones. When you talk about the colleagues and the field, I'm happy to see that a lot of the foundations are in conversation with each other, talking to organizations on the ground, learning, doing things fast, but in a smart way. So that's what's happening now, if we can sum it up in a sentence.
In a soundbite, of course,
Yeah.
which is what we always have to do. I mean, there are always competing priorities. And, since October 7th, obviously, there are so many different areas of needs among the Israeli population, whether it's the displaced people, the over 250,000 people who are out of their homes, whether it's the small businesses, as you mentioned, and the fact that there are no tourists, there are not enough tourists coming into the country, and whether it's the 350,000 people who have been called up on reserve duty and are no longer in their jobs or are leaving wives or husbands at home and with the children, and really our lives have been turned upside down. How can a foundation determine funding priorities?
So like every organization, I think we also encountered the issues of reserve duty, of workers going to reserve duty. I myself just came from a month of reserve duty. But when you think about how you go ahead from this challenges and think about all the different areas you can tap into in this times of crisis, I think you can focus on, I think what we did is focus on two main areas of how we do things, aside from the topics. First is thinking about the immediate help, and then thinking about the medium and long-term support that we need to set aside, not just in terms of resources, but in terms of research and thinking about the day after with rebuilding and rehabilitation. So that's, I think, one of the first things that not only us, but other foundations had to start to think about. And the second is not only staying with the familiar, but when you think about new topics and new areas, after researching the needs that come up, you need to do it in a smart way, thinking ahead, not just rush in and talk to the people that are on ground and know the work and create new partnerships and smart partnerships.
Which makes sense, because if you would just jump in and then give away all this money and then it wouldn't be effective, that could end up not having the impact that you hope for it to have.
Right.
So, I want to talk specifically about a couple of programs that I know that you're working on at the foundation that I think would be really interesting for our viewers. Specifically, you also are running the House of Social Solidarity, and it was actually founded during COVID, which was another crisis that the world, as well as Israel, of course, experienced. And that is offering help to support small businesses. How are those businesses doing in the aftermath of the massacre? You mentioned emergency grants. What role is the foundation playing at this point through that program?
So, as you mentioned, we are already familiar with this, with small businesses. We have a community of over 13,000 small businesses. So we were able to really quickly understand the needs that arises in this area. As you mentioned, a lot of small businesses and people were displaced from their homes, and now we need to think of creative ways of how to restart their business from far away, especially the ones from the south and the north in the affected areas. So it's either tapping into new audiences, helping with marketing, thinking of buying equipment. That's part of the challenges that they face, that we heard. And the biggest thing, I think, is the uncertainty of not knowing when this thing is going to end and when they're going to go back to their homes and to their businesses. So that's part of the challenges. And we wanted to create programs that, even in the immediate part, tap into those challenges. So as I mentioned, the emergency grants, we already opened them up for hundreds of small businesses together with partnerships with JDC and the Israeli Foundation. We're very lucky to have them as partners. The second part is creating roundtables and talking with other nonprofits and foundations in the field of small businesses, just to coordinate the response that we give and being smart as a field to help small businesses. We already created a landing page together with all those foundations and nonprofits, just to give access to information and to help to small businesses. And the third is a new project that we launched. It's called Reshet, And in this project, it's like a win-win situation. You buy from one small business, we buy the produce to help them stay afloat, and then donate it to other nonprofits who need those produces. Just to give you an example, buying computers and technological items from one business in the north to help kids with special needs in one of the schools that has been displaced. So that's just one example.
It's incredible, actually. I didn't know that you were doing that. It's really, really special. So we're going to run out of time, and I really want to look ahead. So, Israeli philanthropy, as you just described, it has changed a lot since the start of this war, of the October 7th massacre. Looking to the future, what do you think will stay different, and what do you think is going to go back to the way it was?
Yeah, I think that we saw this before, but you can also see it enhanced right now during this period of time, is more coordinating with each other as a field, more partnerships, more research, and collecting data while this emergency is developing and changing, and thinking a lot about the day after as a field, as philanthropy. I think that is enhanced during this time. And I think I'd like to take this opportunity just to say some things about the support that we're getting right now from the world, from the Jews and Federation from all over the world. They always stood by Israel, but right now you can see that in a much bigger way. And I think we're lucky to have this support worldwide. And that's it. I think we'll finish on a strong note. And thank you so much.
Thanks, for sure. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the people who are contributing and taking part. It's very important for now and for the future of the State of Israel.
Thank you so much.
I am pleased now to introduce Mike Evans, founder and chairman of the Friends of Zion Heritage Center, an organization with one of the largest pro-Israel followings in the world. Mike will tell us about some of the incredible work he has been doing to help the people of Israel since the October 7 Hamas massacre.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be at the Jerusalem Post Summit today. Speaking of the Jerusalem Post Summit, I had the privilege of being at the Jerusalem Post Summit in 2018 when I said that 5 to 6 Arab countries would be making peace with Israel. When I said it was 2 years before the Abraham Accords. I had just met with the Muslim leaders throughout the Middle East, including the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, UAE, King Abdullah, President Sisi, and I met with the White House team in Jerusalem, led by Ambassador Friedman, and told them this, including Jason Greenblatt. I told him that 5 to 6 countries would be making peace. And I also briefed Prime Minister Netanyahu, by the way. They told me to say thank you to him. I was astonished at the support he has in the Muslim world. It's all because of a policy called TTP, Anti-Terror and Technology for Peace. He's built a bridge among these Muslim countries. And that alliance is not going to end because of the Gaza crisis that you're in now. It won't end. Speaking of the October 7th war, I want to say something. This war was a preemptive attack upon the state of Israel by Iran. And its proxy, Hamas, was trained and funded to do exactly what they did. Why would Iran want that? Because Iran is trying to exhaust Israel and distract Israel. They're trying to exhaust the world and distract the world to keep their eyes off of Iran going atomic. Iran will be an atomic nuclear state by November of this year. In light of that, we have to think in terms of what can the state of Israel do? Because Israel is fighting an existential war against an existential enemy, Iran. Friends of Zion's on the front line, been on the front lines. I've been there 4 times, so I want you now to see a little bit of what Friends of Zion is doing.
We have no words to thank you for your generosity and hospitality, for giving us a place like home where we can be with our kids and enjoy. Thank you so, so much.
we're here today to support these soldiers at war.
Thank you very much to the Friends of Zion Museum for your generous donation.
Thank you, Friend of Zion.
Thank you, friends of Zion. It's a great honor to have you here tonight. God bless you and have a wonderful night.
אני רוצה לומר לכם תודה על מה שאתם עושים, על השליחות שלכם.
After a long time, it's the first time that we smiled. So I want to thank you for all your friendship, all the things that you do for Israel.
Thank you to the Friends of Zion Museum for giving me a home. It really means a lot, so thank you to everyone who has helped make this happen.
I want to thank you so much for all the gifts and for the happy event you did for me. Thank you guys. I love you.
חנוכה שמח, אנחנו כאן בשבילכם, למענכם.
I want to thank the Friends of Zion for their support. It's so important for all of us.
Rosa?
I thank you very much that you remember people who are in hard situation.
We'll make sure you have plenty of medicine and food. God bless you, Rosa. This bomb shelter is the community center for Holocaust survivors, and these are Holocaust survivors that are family. We have loved them, we've cared for them now for over a decade.
My nephew Ofir, here he is. This is Omer, my sunshine.
She was in her base at the 7th of October.
I was with her on the phone 4.5 hours.
הבן שלי איתן חטוף ונמצא עכשיו בעזה. כבר חודש ימים, אנחנו לא יודעים מה מצבו.
You see the terrorists coming, throwing grenades inside, and you see him throwing the grenade outside.
I used to have 6 sons, now I have 5. It's my favorite, unique son. Always was, always will be.
I think the way how you posted exposing this Hamas hypocrisy is amazing.
We are by the Gaza border, and the bombs are flying everywhere. Israel's had war.
They started with the vehicles along the road. They blocked the exits, and then they entered to slaughter and massacre the young men and women.
How many died here?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Now we're gonna get inside the shelter where everything happened.
I want to thank this opportunity, Mike, and thank you personally and the Friend of Zion for all what you are doing for supporting us in this difficult time.
I came here to stand, to take a big and strong and firm stand with the good versus evil.
We support Israel and we stand for Israel and we are praying for Israel. Hallelujah.
Your coming here today is a divine call. We honor you and we present you with this wonderful award in appreciation for your work, your love, and your support for the State of Israel. We're fighting a media war, and it's a real war that we've got to win together.
Please welcome Yehuda Cohen, director of the Beit Saba Emunah Elazarki Children's Home. He will be interviewed by Tamar Uriel Berry.
Yehuda, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my honor.
So please tell us how Beit al-Azraqi was formed.
So Beit al-Azraqi was formed in 1969 by a family who came from Morocco, the Saba family. That's why it's an Emuna Beit Saba al-Azraqi. But I will jump 21 years. I don't want to go year by year. So 21 years later, which means 34 years ago, my wife and myself came from Brazil, and we saw a small ad in the newspaper. A children's home is looking for a director. Children's home 34 years ago exists in a kibbutz, Bet Yeladim. What is a children's home in Netanya? We came to see, and we saw 37 little beautiful children, and we were asking, who are these children? And they tell us that these children were abandoned by the parents, neglected, abused. We were shocked. No one spoke about it 34 years ago. But this was our first shock. The real shock was when we found out that all the 37 are second, and some of them are third generation of the same environment, which means the parents grew up in these kind of places, and sometimes even the grandparents. And I was asking, 1 second, is this a genetical problem? No way. And I don't want to come there to be the babysitter. So we decided to come. We had two conditions. One, that they will build us 2 rooms with the children, one for my wife and myself, and the other one for our 3 children that we had in that time. And the second, that I want to change the goal. The goal 34 years ago was that if there is a child in Ashkelon, in Beersheba, in Haifa, wherever that was abused or something terrible happened in the family, they taking him and calling up Beit Saba al-Azraqi and checking if there is a place, and they're bringing him, which means I'm giving a solution to the welfare. And I said, I didn't come here to give a solution to the welfare. I'm here to give a solution, a good solution to the child. And our goal is one, that every child that's raised up today in Beit al-Azraqi will become incredible parents to his children.
I think that's a goal that many parents have today, and it's really a beautiful, nurturing thing. How do you create such an environment?
We understood that everyone who have a child, he is a father and she's a mother, but they are not parent yet. Parenting have nothing to do with biological connection and chromosomes. Parenting, it's about being there for your child and to make sure that your child knows that you are there for him. So today we have in Beit al-Azraqi more than 200 children. Every group of 12 children have 5 counselors, and we are there. A child who comes to Beit al-Azraqi knows that he found a home. And we will be there from the moment that he comes in forever.
And how do they reach you in the first place? What's the process?
The welfare system in Israel, every municipality have a section, department of welfare. And they are, in a minute that they find out about a child that really is in need, they are starting to search a place for him. And they, if it goes easy with the agreement of the family, so the child is replaced to one of the homes in Israel that the welfare is looking, the welfare is calling us up. And if not, the welfare is going to court and the child is coming to the home by court order. And thank God, from one side. From other side, it's pretty sad, but so many children need us, and the welfare is calling us up day after day. Do you have more space? Do you have more space? And more children need us.
How does it work in today's environment in Israel after the October 7th massacre? What's changed?
October 7th changed all the children in Israel. It's true that a lot of traffic was now from Netanya to Tel Aviv, but it's not the same traffic. It's different people who are sitting in the cars. The children are also different. And you imagine a child from a normal home that there is parents inside and everything, have so many anxieties, take it to a child at risk that suffered so much before. With this situation are so many anxieties, and we have to be there. But not only him. We have 6 people that were called to Miluim. We have 8 counselors, women counselors, that their husbands are in the army now. One of them got wounded 2 weeks ago and is in the hospital now, he's in rehab. Itai, we are praying for him. And you imagine not only the children with anxieties, they are suddenly with anxieties that the staff, that tucking them into bed every night and waking them up in the morning cannot be really for them. So it's really, really influencing all the children.
What do you see today, but also beyond the conflicts currently happening, as the biggest issue that youth at risk, children at risk are facing?
Look, the most dangerous thing for a child if he have nothing to lose. Most of the things that we are doing is behaving well and everything because we know that we have our parents, we want them, we have our teachers and that. A child at risk that were abandoned, he really feels that he have nothing to lose, and it's so, so, so dangerous. With today media and so many things outside in the street and so many issues with children and so many children that don't have the right attention, and especially children at risk, it's really, really dangerous for them. So we developed a model that based on 3-legged approach. The first thing that the most important, not only by children at risk, is to fulfill the child potential. Every child have a potential. The research is saying that it's using between 5 to 7%. That you can do. Your family, children can do. My children have to use much more. They are waking up every morning and going to 27 different schools in Netanya. My children are the best students in the city because they have a potential. The question, what are you doing with it? We have 60 private tutors that make sure that my child will come to school, will be the first one to raise his hand in class. Not only that, we found out, and it's not an anecdote, the children who have good smell, physical smell, teachers are getting closer to them. And you know what happened to a little child when a teacher getting closer to him? His self-image is going up. So we are very proud when the teacher calls me up and asks me, Yehuda, ask Riki, my wife that works with me, what kind of softening you use in the laundry? The children have a wonderful smell. Yes, a child who have a good smell and is the first one to raise his hand in class is a child from a good home. So that's the first thing. The second is stability. Children at risk in Israel and around the world have no stability. A child who comes to our home, no matter the age, he found a home. We will be with him in daycare center, kindergarten, first grade, Kita Aleph. Everyone come with mom or with dad or with both of them. My children are coming with me, with a social worker, with a Sharut Leumi girl, with a seminary girl. We have a seminary also, MTC by us. And he's crying, he also wants Abba and Ima. And we tell him, don't worry. We will be with you in Kita Aleph. We will be with you in Mother Day. We will tuck you every night to bed. We will wake you up in the morning. We will do your birthday. We will be there. You will get to Bar Mitzvah, we will do your Bar Mitzvah. We will take you to the best high school. You remember, he's a good student. He will finish high school. We will do a graduation party. All your counselors from all the years will come. We will be there. And we will take you to the army. We have now 39 soldiers. We will be there in every ceremony. You will finish the army, we will take you to the university. You remember, they are good students. 28 students we have now, 22 for first degree and 6 for second degree. We are there, we pay their tuition. When they finish university or doing their university, when she meets a boy or he meets a girl, we are going to meet the other side as mechutanim. Whatever they give, we are giving. We only ask them not to meet 2 wealthy families, because then it costs a lot of money. But we are there. We are there with them. We walk down the aisle, my wife and myself, 105 children.
Wow. And
we are there.
so what's the third point that's so central to it?
So the third point, it's really the mental and all the emotional therapy that they need. But before that, we are there. Everyone is asking me, until when you will be with these children? And I'm asking him, until when you will be with your children? Parenting, it's not about bringing them to the world. Parenting is about being there for them. And the third point, as you said, it's really all the mental and the social help that these children need. There is no way to be abandoned from home and come to a children's home without mom and dad and 4 children in a room with a Sharut Leumi girl or a counselor that tuck them into bed and not to have emotional issues. So we cannot erase the past, but we are there to build them an incredible future.
Yehuda Cohen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Next, we have Rivi Kirstein, Educational Programs Director for Nefesh Yehudi, an organization that allows everyone the opportunity to know, recognize, and experience Jewish thought and wisdom. Rivi will be interviewed by Tamar Uriel Berry.
Rivi, how has Nefesh Yehudi's activities changed since October 7th? How have they been changed to suit the current situation?
Nefesh Yehudi born almost 20 years ago. So as I told you, we learned together with students, and we became like a family, best friends. So, you know, all the last year in Israel about the reform and people hate each other, we don't feel it. We didn't feel it. We were together, learn together, meet each other every week. And I have almost every Shabbat, I have guests, secular students came to my home for a religious area, religious city, and they came and feel comfortable, feel good, and enjoy. So when the war started, it was very easy to us to be very active in the war. First of all, we have the Haredim, the religious people that wants to help, and we have the contact with the soldiers that are fight, and just we make the contact with them.
So you've been a sort of central command for donations to soldiers.
Exactly.
So when you were talking
not
about
only to the soldier, also family from the south.
Yeah.
We bring them home, in a house in Jerusalem, place to be, and things and clothes and whatever they need. They ask from us, and we give it to them. Exactly.
So, I mean, during this war, it's not a time when Israel is at its best status-wise worldwide. And ultimately, this has led to arguments claiming that the Jewish connection with the land of Israel does not exist. How do you, in Nefesh Yehudi, where you do address these Jewish communities abroad, how do you kind of rid them of that doubt that the Jewish people are inherently tied to the land of Israel?
So when we meet people from the diaspora and we ask them to support Israel and we speak about Israel, of course we can explain them about the Bible, how Hashem gave this land to our fathers and mothers and promised them that this country will going to be to them kids. And we just finished now the last Shabbat to read the Chumash Bereshit in the Bible, and all the Bereshit, Chumash, we spoke about the promised land. So we can explain them all this, but I think that now in the war, they can see it, because just the war happened, October 7th, people, all the Israelis from all over the world wants immediately to back to Israel. And we have our students that, just for an example, we have students in Japan, 40 people that were in Japan in October 7th and called us, we want to back to Israel, help us. Of course, we were in contact with the Lal, they gave them to be the first, but somebody needs to take care of to pay this. So we spoke with our donation, and immediately somebody told me from New York, tomorrow in your 4 o'clock time, by us it's 8 o'clock, you will see it in the bank, the money for this. So we bought ticket for Israelis. So you see that all the Israelis not left Israel when it happened. The opposite. Most of them wants to come to Israel, to come back and to feel involved in this. And now you can see a lot of people from the diaspora come to Israel and wants to help, want to visit, want to see. Every day you see groups from abroad, from the diaspora, Jewish people, of course, come to help Israel. So I think that now we don't need to explain that, because we see now the results.
Because it's just being displayed as is.
Yes, I think that it's something that it's a Jewish soul. And maybe because generation after generation dream about this, wants this. Although we are not in our country, the Jewish nation. Mm-hmm. We're back to our country only the last year. last century. So I think that in all the years, people, generation after generation, pray to Jerusalem, wants to come to Israel, want to back, try to come to Israel, even it was very, very dangerous. So I'm sure that they get it on the blood, the Jewish blood, back to Israel.
In your experience, because Nefesh Yehudi works with students in colleges and universities here and abroad, in your experience, what is the biggest difficulty for that specific age group, which is unique in quality, to be faced with their Judaism? What is the biggest sort of concept that's difficult for them to approach?
I think that, first of all, here in Israel, it's very difficult to them because all the media and the politics and all this speak. It's difficult to me, and I feel uncomfortable to say it, but that's the truth. Everything that have a contact to Yahadut is called a data, and people sometimes want it, but afraid. They want, okay, if you speak with us about something from the Yahadut, you want to make us Baalei Tshuva, or you want to make us to be religious. And I told them, I want to give you the present that the Yahadut can give to the world. You can choose whatever you want, but it's yours. I want you to know what it means. I believe that knowledge is power. So you're Jewish. At least know what it means to be a Jew.
Nefesh Yehudi uses a very beautiful expression, in my opinion. No one owns Judaism. How does Nefesh Yehudi, for example, in your organization's actions, express that concept?
That's the whole idea. I told them that the Yahadut belongs to you and to me and to all the Jews in all over the world. And I'm very sad that people not use it, don't know it. And I think that it's a treasure that you can use it. You can get so many presents from the Yahadut that can give to the world. And people are afraid to learn it. And I think that I want to give them the opportunity to learn, to know them roots, know them tradition. I believe that, there is a very famous sentence that says that if you don't have a nation that don't have the past will not have the future. So I believe in the future of Am Israel, and I want to share it with people, with Jewish people.
Finally, just my last question for you. How does this type of Judaism that you guys preach and teach, this experiential Judaism, how do you teach that in actuality? What does that mean in the types of activities that you host and the types of teachings that you host?
We learned together with our students all the years about Eretz Israel, about our love to our nation, about that our nation is sisters and brothers together. And I think that now, when all this happened, they feel it from us because for an example, one of our students is a soldier in Shaldag. He went to Be'eri in Simchat Torah already 2:00. He was there, and after 3 days he broken, of course. And he chose to go back to his rabbi from Nefesh Yehudi, to Rabbi Lani, and to come him and to cry for him 2 or 3 hours, and then back to the south. So they feel comfortable with us because they can speak with us about the life, about the meaning of the life, about why we are here, what it means to be a Jew, because they see that, they hate all of us. It's never mind if we're religious, if we are secular. They never want what we think about peace or not peace. All of this, they hate all of us the same. So, and we don't speak never about politics, but we speak about Eretz Israel, about the meaning of life, about what the Yahadut tell to the world, and that we are the exclusive nation, that our nation, after all the years, after all the kind of Holocaust and wars that we have in our nation, we're still here. And there is a very famous nation that we don't see them today. And the Jewish nation, or thousands of years, were still here, and the same names, the same rules, the same Torah is still here. So I think, and they ask this question about the rules, and they say that now it's meeting them now. The Jewish identity they're just meeting this now, and what all we learn all the years, we find it now. And I'm very happy I have the chance to say that we want to be part of this. I think that this work can show all the people here in Israel and all over the world that the religious people are apart from the country, apart from the Medinat Israel, because at the moment that they need us, we are here. And we helped us, with the first week, like all over the world, we try to find the kerami vests, helmets, and pants, a coat, whatever they need, we send them, we bring them.
Yes.
And not only things, of course, to help them. Also, we want to give them this, to make them stronger. We came to visit in all our base. We bring them, of course, food. We bring them things for Shabbat.
That's a really beautiful mission.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rivi, for joining us.
Sure, you're welcome. Thank you.
I now have the privilege of welcoming Dr. Eran Harari, a psychiatrist and senior vice president and global head of the specialty R&D organization at Teva Pharmaceuticals. Dr. Harari helped develop an FDA-approved revolutionary schizophrenia treatment. However, since October 7, he has been instrumental in a new Teva project called Treating the Soul. I will have the privilege of speaking with Dr. Harari. Dr. Harari, it is really an honor to meet you and to have you here today.
Same here, thank you.
Of course. Now, I want to jump right into the interview, but before we speak specifically about the program that Teva has rolled out, I want to talk a bit about the concept of trauma in the aftermath of the October 7th massacre. Who's traumatized? What does trauma look like?
So first, a traumatic event is when someone feels that their safety has been jeopardized. And this unique event was that people were invaded into their homes. Families were actually gathered together and suffered so much. So trauma is when you feel that you are not safe, physically or mentally. Now, in this unique event, we had two other aspects. One, many people actually experienced secondhand the event because everything was broadcasted. So this is another community that was affected. And the third aspect was that Israel is a small community, so everyone knew someone who was infected, and that actually caused some people to experience traumatic symptoms second-handedly.
So, the Jewish people have experienced trauma before. The Holocaust, the First and Second Intifada, all of the rockets that for the last decades have been raining down on the people of southern Israel. Has something changed with October 7th?
I would say yes, in a positive way and in a negative way. I touched on one aspect, which was everything was live, meaning people experienced what happened straight when it happened, and very closely and vividly. So that's a negative aspect of it. But the positive difference between what we experienced in the past as the Jewish people or Israeli people is that we became very quickly proactive. So we fought back, and people volunteered immediately. I can tell you that in Teva, about 1,400 employees immediately volunteered agriculture and doing other stuff to help the communities. So the proactivity in it is actually a treating aspect of what we experience. So I think this is the positive when you compare it to the Holocaust or other experiences.
Amazing. Now, Teva itself is actually spearheading, not only are people volunteering, but it's actually spearheading a project. It's called Treating the Soul. It has three parts. The first involves training therapists and social workers to be more equipped to treat trauma, and also giving them, in some cases, the help that they need since they're sort of going through it themselves as they're treating other people with trauma. Can you talk a little bit about that arm of the program, and then I want to talk about the other two?
Yeah. So we have three pillars in the program. One is treating the treaters, those who treat the patients. Let me say a few words about that. When we met what the need is, we actually realized that awareness is not the big thing here, because people are aware of trauma. The bottleneck was people who are trained to treat the patients or people who suffer from symptoms.
Meaning there aren't enough people to treat them?
There aren't enough. And even those who can treat our mental health health providers are not specifically trained to treat post-trauma. So what we are doing now is with this Metaplim B'Nefesh, treating the soul, what we do is train those healthcare professionals how to treat specifically post-trauma. So they have, each one of them, about 32 hours of training by the best experts in the field, such that we have enough people to treat those who need treatment.
Amazing, because now the next arm has to do with the resilient centers rather than the people, but with the centers. And I read that in some places this has meant beefing them up. That's one idea, or some adding staff, in order to provide more people. And in other places, like in Ofakim, that actually could be building it from scratch. So what is a resilient center, first of all, and what is Teva's role in this part of the program?
So resilient is one of the most important things in preventing post-trauma. If you come to an event or experience an event and very quickly, rapidly after the event itself, you're being treated and given tools how to be resilient, then we know from the literature that you won't be actually developing symptoms of post-trauma. So those centers actually are equipped with the knowledge, expertise, and people that can help other people to use those tools. An example of a tool is to reframe what you experience. So you were proactive, and by understanding that you are proactive, you're actually making yourself more resilient to post-trauma in the future.
Now, finally, part of your day job is innovation, your actual role at Teva that we spoke about, in the beginning during the introduction. And we mentioned, that you developed actually a groundbreaking drug, which is an injection that makes it easier for people with schizophrenia to treat the mental illness. Now, the third arm of this project, from what I understand, actually has to do with that digital technology, innovation, in order to be able to help people deal with trauma. Give me some examples. What does that look like?
So we are fortunate enough to be in Israel where the science is, top-notch. The other aspect of, being top-notch is understanding PTSD better, post-traumatic stress disorder better, and we have the best experts. Now, we need to find the combination between the technologies that we develop and these, trauma, post-trauma symptoms treatment. What we're going to do is find technologies that treat patients at home, as an example, or enable the healthcare professionals to remotely interact with patients. The other option would be to give them tools to make their time more usable, meaning they won't have the need to do anything with logistics. They'll just need to invest their time in treating the patients, and that will free up time for them to treat patients that need their help.
Are there also examples of tools on the other side specifically for the patients themselves that you're looking at as well?
Yeah, one of the technologies we're looking into is a biofeedback technology where the patient sits at home in front of a screen and can train their brain how to reduce anxiety, symptoms, and actually become more resilient brain-wise.
Amazing. Is this enough? I mean, will the Israeli people, survive the trauma of October 7th? What happens the next day?
I'm very optimistic because of two main reasons. One is the community sense that we see and the fact that people are being proactive and helping one another. I mean, it's a small community, as you know. So this is something which is very securing the mental health of people. The other thing, it's not enough. So we in Teva, we have a lot of expertise, also resources, but I would like to call other people and partners globally, locally and globally, to help us build this infrastructure for us to become more resilient in the future. I'm very optimistic about the future because I know we come from a point where we have strength, but we just need to put all effort that we have into those capabilities.
Dr. Harari, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Aside from the trauma of October 7, one of the areas that has been hard hit in Israel is the economy. We now have Economy Minister Nir Barkat to talk about the country's financial plans in the aftermath of the war. Minister Barkat will be interviewed by Mayan Hoffman.
Minister Barkat, thank you so much for being here today.
Honor and pleasure.
So I want to jump right into some of the issues that are sitting with us on the ground post-October 7th. And one of them, as we know, that very closely pertains to the economy is what we do about foreign workers. Now, you yourself have been very strong about the idea that relying on Palestinian workers, the concept is dead. Do you really believe that? Who is going to replace them? And is your plan to bring in foreign workers from abroad viable? And with that, if you can also answer about the idea of collective punishment, does that collectively punish the Palestinian people who will no longer be able to benefit from our economy?
We must not rely on Palestinian workers, period. The atrocities that we had October 7 demonstrated to us the risk associated with it. We know that some of them created intelligence and passed it on to the radicals, to the jihadists and Hamas. we cannot rely on them anymore. They're enemies. And we must understand that the Palestinians are training their children to kill Jews. That's the education system. And they pay $1 million for every Palestinian that kills a Jew. Throughout their lifetime, they get supported $1 million. We cannot take that risk. So what we must do, and what we're actually started doing, is actually shifting and getting more and more foreign employees, I believe, and we put this on the table of the government. What we must do is move to business, B2B, versus government to government. That has worked so far. We must open it up and enable all the business people to find their colleagues across the oceans and bring foreign employees. This is something that has to go quickly, fast. There's the challenges we have up there, but we have no choice to make that happen. We must not take any risk with the Palestinian Authority, the Palestinian employees.
Let me ask you this. You want the companies to bring in these workers, but bureaucracy in Israel has never been easy. And even if we pass and we say, yes, you can go and find your workers, how are they going to get them in here, get them permits that last long enough for them to be able to work for these companies? There
are 130,000 foreign employees in Israel today.
Okay.
We must add another 170. So we're not starting from zero. I met the Minister of Economy of India that wants to take care of 200 million Indians to work in other places around the world. And he asked me, by the way, how many can we take?
Yeah.
And actually, if we went 1,000th of Indians, we've solved the challenges we have in Israel. So there are many, many countries that are now seeing the opportunity. We must take the Israeli employees, push them up to technology, to higher skilled labor jobs, and cover the low skilled jobs by foreign employees. So strategically, we have to shift from the Palestinians to foreign employees. There's much, much less risk in it. And in long term, this is the right thing to do.
Much less security risk. But let's again go back to this question of collective punishment. How do you justify telling all of the Palestinians living in the West Bank that they will no longer be able to receive permits because they want to kill our children?
It's their problem. It's not our problem. And with all due respect, the Palestinian Authority and, of course, Hamas has to take care of their people. We mustn't find work for Palestinian people. They must do that.
So you also believe, I'm assuming, based on what you said, that you believe that we should continue to withhold the PA tax fees from them in protest to their pay-for-slay policies.
Something happened October 7th, okay? The toughest, by far, the worst day Israel ever had since its inception,
Without
okay?
question.
So the idea is that we must do everything we can, to stop that slate, to stop that killing, to stop giving them anything until they change their whole attitude towards Israel, until they understand that there's only one way to work with Israelis, and that is to have real peace. You know, the Emirates, after the Abraham Accord, now are changing their education system, looking at Israelis as bad guys to how can they become more peaceful around the world. Okay, that's a great example to what real peace can do. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening with the Palestinian Authority, and of course not with the Hamas, which are the same. The Hamas had an opportunity, they took it. The Palestinian Authority, unfortunately, we all know that if they had the opportunity, they would do it themselves as well, and we cannot take any risk with them. With all due respect, it's their problem, it's not our problem.
So what do you think should happen in Gaza the day after?
Look, right now we have so much on our plate just winning the war. And I'm all focused on what we need to do still to make sure that we bring foreign employees, to help the small and medium-sized businesses. Last this, I want to focus on the reservists to make sure that when they come back home, there's a place for them, and their businesses are secure and their jobs are secure. There's so much work to do. So we're focused on that. And of course, starting to look ahead on a couple of other things that we left off because of the war. There were 3 months delay in many of the challenges that we put on the table that we're now bringing back to life.
Well, it's interesting you brought that up because before October 7th, you had actually this grandiose economic plan that was very exciting for the state of Israel. You were talking about clusters and economic diplomacy in India and Azerbaijan, and there was many new partnerships that were getting formed. How has our economic reality changed, and will your plans come back to life? If so, when?
Well, first of all, the clusters for the people that are not skilled in the art is focusing on Israel's competitive advantage. Now, globally, we're 1,000th of the world, and everyone wants our technology and innovation. We have $165 billion export a year. We should get to $1 trillion. The competitive advantage of Israelis, we haven't lost anything. On the contrary, I think that during wars and rounds of violence in our region, you see a small dip, but immediately after that, you see huge growth, steep growth, because people go to the army, like my two brothers. They're coming back from the army with new ideas and new thoughts, and the world is looking at, wait a minute, these Israelis, they get their act together, and really everyone is looking at what we have to offer. So what we're going to be doing, and nothing has changed, we just had a delay of 3 months, is now regrouping, focusing on growth, focusing on our competitive advantage to see how we could boost and have our Israeli entrepreneurs go global. I met many friends in the United States that are now shifting a lot of energy into Israel, aligning interests with us. They want to shift more investments to Israel. They understand that when Israel is attacked, so do the Jews around the world. We're one people, and that collaboration together, I believe you're going to see very, very nice steep growth immediately after the war.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Next up is one of my favorite panels because it involves shopping. But this panel does not involve just any products, but unique and stunning precious gems and products from the Holy Land. Please welcome Tali Shalom Taub, the CEO of Holy Gems, and Steve Werp, the founder of Blessed by Israel. I will have the honor of doing the interview. So thank you so much for being here, Tali and Steve. It's really a pleasure to be able to host you here in the studio. I want to get started with something I normally don't do when we have panels, but you both have such interesting businesses. I wanted you to each have a minute just to do your elevator pitch and to tell us what you do. So Tali, why don't you start? Tell us about Holy Gems.
Well, I'm the CEO of Holy Gems, the Holy Gems Group. We are the only certified miners and marketers of precious gems mined in the Holy Land of Israel. We operate under licenses and permits from the government of Israel. Under our mine-to-market strategy, we sell the gems only inside jewelry under the Holy Gems jewelry brand. We find sapphires, garnets, spinels, and the supernatural caramel sapphire, which is a very interesting gem. Our story is actually the incredible story of the discovery of this first ever deposit of precious gems in Israel, which started with the words of the Lubavitcher Rebbe and came to life with my father's relentless faith and devotion to this mission, which came true.
First it's gas, then it's Holy Gems. Who knows what's next for Israel? So Steve, you have a company called Blessed by Israel,
Yes.
which is a pun, B-U-Y, right? Just so everyone
Correct.
knows how to find it. Tell us what it is.
Well, in 2016, 16, the UN, the EU, and the Obama administration started finding ways to actually isolate Judea and Samaria from the rest of Israel. And they started saying that any product, we don't recognize Judea and Samaria as being part of Israel. Therefore, you must relabel them, enabling people around the world to actually actively boycott. And our family felt this was reminiscent of 1933 with Hitler and their boycott. And we felt that if we don't do something today, then we are no different than our forefathers. So our family sat down, and within a few months, by February, we were boots on the ground, walking in Judea and Samaria, trying to find small businesses in communities in Judea and Samaria that we could actually support and invest in. Because we believe that the Christians around the world and others, the Jewish communities, should be investing in the people, in the land. You talked about holy gems. There's another holy gem, and it's the people. And what we do, we don't want you buying olive oil from Israel. We want you buying olive oil from a person, from Erez and Vered, who live in Rechalim. We want you buying soap from Shlomo Keshet down in Kokav HaShachar. We want to put a face on the people that are actually resettling the land. And that's been our vision and our hope, and that's what's happening. There are holy gems in the land.
Wow. Now, Steve, October 7th, Hamas entered Israel, slaughtered close to 1,300 people, took 240 hostages, and the entire country has been in trauma since then. One of the results of this war that has insinuated for the last few months is that the economy has also been impacted. And with that, of course, small businesses. Tell me about what's happened with the people, those gems that you're working with.
Besides the emotional trauma, it's very, very hard. We have a friend that's lost their son, another friend of ours that just lost a nephew. So this has really hit home. I would say, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, when we started this, we didn't know anybody. But these are actually our friends now. It's been very difficult to export. There's been a lot of labor lost. And that's where our family, I feel, has really stepped up. So not only are we buying from Judea and Samaria, we're going down to Holy Kokawa and we're packing chocolate. We're going out to Shiloh and we're helping harvest the olives. We're whatever we can to help them get their businesses out. We go down and we help with the honey. So we spend a whole day packaging honey, putting labels on, and then transporting it up to Haifa because they don't have the people to do it. So it's an opportunity. It's actually been an incredible time of building relationships, very much deeper than just business relationships.
Now, Tali, I'm going to turn to you because I'm assuming that the war has also led to challenges for your own business. First of all, because of the absence of tourists to start with. But, how have you been able to refocus in order to be able to keep going during this time?
Well, first of all, our brand was born a little over a year ago after we received the approval from the government to start selling the gems that we mine. And in this year, that is until October, we had an amazing growth. We opened 2 stores and we had a visitor center in Akko, which became like a tourist attraction. And we had an online store. So the physical stores, everything came back Black October and everything went into a freeze. But we still have our online store, which Baruch Hashem still generate revenue. And also we have all kinds of offers to open stores abroad. So it's a good thing. People still very much want to buy those gems. And the main difficulty in the terms of this war for us was the uncertainty of the investors. Because we are like a kind of a startup company because we're in the beginning of a way and the investors they feel uncertain about what's going on in Israel, which makes it a bit more difficult, but
Amazing. Now, what I love about Holy Gems is that the jewelry is not just stunning, and it's and amazing, honestly, and very meaningful as well. So before October 7th, you were working with Aviad Arik Herman on a new line, and he's a very well-known fashion designer. He's worked with famous people in Eurovision, in Miss Universe, if I have that correct. And then when the war started, you worked with Aviad to finish up creating a line that is a fusion of Jewish strength, pride, and profound meaning of precious stones sourced here in the depths of the Holy Lands. Talk to me about this jewelry.
Well, this is actually another amazing story because everything related to our company seems to be amazing. But we met Aviad, it was a few months before the war. And the whole idea of this collaboration, we come from a very strict Orthodox family. And Aviad comes from a very different world. And we thought about this collaboration in terms of showing unity when it was...
When we were dealing with other challenges.
Dealing with polarity, yeah. And then came the war. And in retrospect, it was amazing because Aviad designed this collection based on David HaMelech. So it was Magen David and Chamsot and things like this. And suddenly we see that it fit perfectly with the state of mind of the public. You know, everybody wants to wear something with the Jewish and Israeli symbol, you know, to connect. So it was amazing in itself.
Meant to be. Steve, I want to turn back to you. Blessed by Israel is run by your family, but you are actually one of many of a very lovely network of Christian volunteers who come here and work in the biblical heartlands. And you're there living on Har Bracha with another organization called HaYovel, which is helping to harvest the grapes up on Har Bracha and throughout Judea and Samaria, if I have that correct. And when you are here, as you mentioned, you go and you help in the actual factories and with the people. And then you sell their products to the world. Yes. Talk about what that means to you personally as a Christian Zionist.
It's just an honor. I think for many, many years, the Jewish and Christian peoples we've been separated, isolated from one another. We knew about one another, but there was never a face. There was never a dialogue. There was never a heart-to-heart interaction. And today I'm seeing that change. HaYovel has done an incredible job. Tommy Waller, the guys up there, and now with Israel guys. We have the Cowboys are up there if anybody's interested in Cowboys.
And you can read about it on jpost.com. Yep.
So there are Christians from around the world that are truly galvanizing and understanding that we have a vested interest in this, that what God is doing in bringing his people back to the land and reestablishing them, they are not to do this alone. But we as the nations should separate ourselves. It says in Zechariah to grab the tzitzit of the Jewish people and say, God is with you. Can we go up with you? And millions of Christians around the world are doing that now. So for me, it's an honor. For me, it is truly an honor.
Thank you. So I wanted to talk about the businesses that you're meeting with. You mentioned the labor issues, the export issues. Financially, are they managing through this time? We're 3 months in, all of these issues. What's happening to them?
This has been really difficult coming out of COVID, which basically broke a lot of these small businesses. And, you know, I'm grateful we were able to step into that mix because tourism was gone and a lot of their sales avenues were gone. And we were able to actually help them sell their products throughout the world to the United States. And we were also able to help several of them get started again by funding them ahead of time. They asked, can you prepay for some of these? And we're able to step in and do that. So it was just a great privilege. But we need help. They need help.
And I know that we're going to be putting up some of the products on our website on jpost.com/Israel24, where people will be able to go on, see the products, click, and to purchase them. And also from Holy Gems, which you're offering a 20% discount, holy-jp, and you'll be able to get that 20% discount. Now, one last question for both of you before we end. Tali, there's a lot of anti-Israel sentiment out there right now. There are a lot of people that are condemning Israel, even just for defending ourselves. Has that made the demand for the gemstones from Israel diminish, or is there still a strong demand?
Diminish, no. On the contrary. From the beginning, we were focusing mainly, our target audience are people who has some kind of emotional connection to this land. So now, even more than ever, they want to support Israel. They want to, you know, to wear a piece, a precious piece of the Holy Land, to feel connected. So it's only increased the demand, and we. It is precisely the anti-Semitic situation against Israel that makes them want to be more connected. And we are an Israeli company and very proud of it, and now more than ever.
Steve, how about you? What are you fighting by selling these Israeli products?
Actually, I'm not fighting against, I'm fighting for. And I think that's something that we all need to recognize. There are forces around the world that are fighting to destroy Israel, to drive you off the land that God gave you. And so we're not fighting against something. We're fighting for something. We're fighting to see this land restored. We're fighting to see the Jewish people take possession of their inheritance and walk this land in peace. So when I'm calling our Christian friends, I'm not saying, just come and buy Jewish products. I'm saying, come and invest in the land. Come and invest in the people. Be part of this great work. We should not be sitting on the sidelines just praying for Jerusalem. We should be engaged for Jerusalem or for Israel. And truly, it's for the whole world. Because Judaism and Christianity are about building.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
The Minister of Aliyah and Integration plays a critical role in the aftermath of October 7, as Jews around the world face mounting anti-Semitism and are considering moving to the only Jewish state. Please welcome Minister Ofir Sofer. I will be doing the interview. Shalom, Ofir Sofer. How are you?
Fine. It's not a simple days.
Right.
But when we see the work of the IDF, it's a remarkable work, and I believe that maybe the war will last for maybe more a few months. But I believe that Israel will achieve the goals of the war. We will bring back the hostages, and we will destroy Hamas.
Right. You yourself have a personal story. We won't get into the whole story, but you were injured in your army service.
Yeah.
So I'm sure for you, these types of times are more dramatic and personal.
Yes, but I think that in this day, they are dramatic for all the people of Israel. We don't know what is going to be on the in the close future, especially in the north. But we believe we are strong people, and I believe that it will be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're in charge basically of the Aliyah and Absorption Ministry. And now during the war, we hear more unfortunately about soldiers being killed or hostages, and less actually about what is happening, even though it's an interesting phenomena, because on the one hand, you would assume people wouldn't want to come and make Aliyah during a war. But actually, in many countries, it's the opposite.
Yes, I think that the effect of what we see now, it's amazing. We see an increase, rise in the numbers of people interested to make Aliyah. We see that we talk about close to 400% in France, and then in North America, 100% of people were interested in more than the last period.
Right, compared basically 2023 compared to 2022, there's an increase of 100% from North America. You said close to 400% from France.
Yes, and listen, 2 weeks ago I were in a fair in Paris, fair of Aliyah, and I met a group of people that interested to make Aliyah, and I asked them why now, and they told me that they have seen the picture of October 7th, and in that moment they decided to make Aliyah. They take the decision to make Aliyah. I think that this situation strengthens the solidarity, the unity, and the people talk about that. And this is a good reason to make Aliyah.
Right. But you're in France for like a day or a few days, right? I assume. So did you hear stories about anti-Semitism? Because it is on the rise all over the world, and definitely in France.
Yes, anti-Semitism, the rise of anti-Semitism is in all the world.
Right.
We experience that in all the diaspora. But I think that people point about the solidarity. This is I think it's moving. It's very strong.
Right.
And we have to take this opportunity and to make our job. My job is to encourage people to make Aliyah and to help them. And we are going to focus our efforts about 3 pounds, about strengthen the teaching of Hebrew, and to strengthen the support the system, the support system of Aliyah, and we have to. I don't have the solution, but we have to deal with how to low the housing, the cost of the housing.
Okay. Right, which is an issue, I think, mainly from France, but not only from France, right? I mean, if you sell an apartment today in close to Paris, you can't buy an apartment in Tel Aviv.
Yes. We have to think, we have some ideas. We are not advanced. We have to do work with that, and I will hope that maybe in the few weeks we'll close the concept and we can advance.
Right. By the way, how many people from your close team or from the ministry are actually on reserve duty in Miluim now? I mean, I'm sure it affects the...
From my staff, from my close team, yes, two of them.
Right. Yes. So it definitely affects the work. There's an issue also of doctors. I know that you put a lot of emphasis on bringing medical personnel to Israel, which is something that Israel needs. We need more doctors, more nurses, right? Is that something that during the war you've been able to develop even more, or be able to think of to bring more doctors here?
Yes, it's a new project that will start advance this before the war. And after the war, during the war, we continue to advance this, to help doctors and any professional medicine professional to help them with the bureaucracy, to help them with the Hebrew and other
right, difficulties and challenges they have.
Yes.
So are we expecting like a lot more, or are we able to bring more medical professionals to Israel?
I think we can do it, and I think that also the health ministry understand that, and we cooperate in this mission. We have a goal to do it together, and I hope we will succeed to do that.
Now, before October 7th, the entire country was talking about the Reforma Mishpatit, the judicial reform. On Erev Tisha B'Av, the day of the destruction of the temple, it felt like we were about to explode, as well as on Yom Kippur, there were many issues. And your party was promoting, right, obviously the judicial reform, and I think you support some of it, but I think also towards the end, before even the war, you kind of were speaking more out about unity. And I'm wondering if anything has changed in your perspective or the way you are speaking up as a politician since October 7th until today.
Yes, I think that before the war, I said that we have to change the style of how politicians pronounce and how they talk in the parliament, in the Knesset, and our responsibility about the environment of what happened in Israel. We don't have to agree about anything, about everything, but we must know how to speak with
each other.
Yeah, and I think that the war must change this issue in Israel. We must remember that our unit and solidarity and how we make our work in the parliament and in all in the politics and the media, how we do that. We must change the style in Israel, and I hope it will be. I hope it will be, and I.
But did you change anything in the way that you always have been more kind of a bridge, but I'm saying in your personal view or your personal way of speaking. Have you changed anything? Have you learned something from this?
I think that it's more clear that we must to keep on these principles. It's more, I'm sure, in my way, and I think that we have to, we must, that it will be to expand, or that any civilian in Israel have his responsibility to the style of his talks,
Actions,
his action, the effect
speech.
of his, yes.
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much, Minister Sofer, and let's hope that this year you'll succeed
Thank
and
you
bring
very
lots
much.
of olim.
We are in very important period in Israel, and we can do that. We can bring a major wave of Aliyah, and we have to do that, and I hope.
As they
that
say,
we will succeed.
inshallah. Thank you very much. Our next guest is Dr. Dov Albuquerque, Chief Medical Officer at Meuchedet Health Fund, which is considered the health fund, the choice for many immigrants. He will be interviewed by Mayan Hoffman.
Thank you so much for being with us here today. I want to get started by actually talking about the power of the Israeli health system. It became very well known during the COVID-19 pandemic when we were able to miraculously vaccinate the majority of the eligible Israeli population in record time. Today, the health funds are managing another feat. They are treating the wounded and the traumatized in the aftermath of the October 7th Hamas massacre. Can you talk to me about the role of the health funds since October 7th, and specifically, of course, about the role of Meuchedet in the aftermath as the war goes on?
Well, the 7th of October took all of us in surprise. 6:30 in the morning, Saturday, Simchat Torah. But in a few hours, we realized that it is an extraordinary event. And actually, in 3 hours, we already launched our emergency hotline, where we took care or answered the calls of hundreds of Israelis, patients that called us and shared with us extraordinary events, near-death situations, trauma, extreme anxiety. And actually the first or the main challenge we faced was to maintain our those services in while we were under rocket attacks. You remember the terrorists just attacked cities in the south. So I'm proud to say that our staff miraculously demonstrated the extraordinary devotion, and we were able to initiate services and to treat our tens of thousands of patients that evacuated their homes to Eilat, to Tel Aviv, to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and others. And also, we were able to give those, every aid we needed by our advanced online services, digital services. I'm very proud to say that our health system was proved again its strength, its quality, and also its agility in this event.
Which, as somebody who is an immigrant from America to Israel, I think it is actually a fascinating feat to watch our health system operate both in COVID and today, knowing what the system is like in the United States. And it really is amazing. And just in follow-up to that, were you able to, you said you were providing treatment in Tel Aviv and in Eilat. Did you open pop-up clinics, or was it moving doctors and services to those areas? How were you able to provide enough coverage in the areas where the people were transported?
Yeah, well, we had to adjust ourselves in every area. That Dead Sea area is there is actually no clinics there. So we have to, we moved our mobile, we have a mobile clinic with ultrasound and area we could treat pregnant women and women in self-gynecology. We moved doctors and nurses to and launched actually a clinic from scratch. We moved also a mobile dentist with all the equipment he needed. So in Eilat, we had to enlarge or to move or to grow a little in order to give solutions. In Jerusalem, we are very strong, so there was no problem to give what we needed.
So, as somebody who, again, as I mentioned, is an immigrant, I have understood and made the choice myself when I moved here to use Meuchedet because Meuchedet is considered the health fund of new immigrants. Tell me about your services for English speakers.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm also not new, but I'm an immigrant also. I immigrated in the age of 3. So I'm aware about, the challenge, to move to a foreign country, to face bureaucracy, it's not easy. We know that we are, big enough to have comprehensive services. On the other hand, we give, for example, the manager of a clinic gives his or her their mobile number to a patient in order to give solutions to any problem that pop up. So in real life, we adjust ourselves to the needs of our patients. For example, our call center gives also you can have service in English, in French, and also in our website. And so we adjust ourselves to give great service to immigrants.
So I'm sure for a lot of our viewers, themselves are also considered making Aliyah, especially given the incredible rise in anti-Semitism in America and worldwide. The last statistics from the Anti-Defamation League showed an over 300% increase. And we're starting to hear from the Aliyah agencies that there's a lot of interest in moving here. Yeah. Some of them, of course, are medical personnel who probably are curious or even maybe concerned about being able to come and to work in their field when they arrive in Israel. What can you tell me about making Aliyah as a doctor or nurse?
Mm-hmm. So, as you know, we have an extreme shortage in physicians and nurses and also other medical professions. And they are more than welcome. We are very happy to have those personnel in Meuchedet and also in hospitals and other health funds. I'm sure that they are welcome also there. We have because we have nationwide, we are spread nationwide, and we have diverse services. There are every doctor or nurse or other medical professional can find his spot or the area of his interest and area geographically that is suitable. Also, Israel adjusts her services, its services, in order to deal with all this bureaucracy of license and other very important but not very easy. Yeah. So I think it's the right place to come.
Amazing. Now, is there anything else that you want to add that I didn't ask you, or anything else you want to share that we didn't get to talk about?
Yeah, well, I must say that the solidarity of Jews worldwide is really moving, and we can't take it take it for granted. I must say that I offer myself personally to help anyone that wants to make Aliyah, if it's a medical profession or not, in order to help, of course, in the first days, but later, also later, for anything is needed.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Our next panel will probably be one of the most interesting. We have together American influencer Emily Austin and Egyptian-Canadian activist and scholar Majed El-Shafi. Both leaders in their own ways have played instrumental roles in defending the state of Israel. Emily on her social networks and Majed through his organization One Free International. They will be interviewed by Herb Kanan.
Thank you. Thanks for being back with us. Today on this panel, we have two social media influencers. Majed El-Shafi is the president and founder of One Free World International, an international human rights organization which advocates for religious minorities and is based in Toronto. Majed is a former Egyptian Muslim who converted to Christianity, was imprisoned in Egypt, escaped to Israel, where he spent some time in prison in Israel as well before he found asylum in Canada. Thank you for being with us. We also have Emily Austin, a social media influencer with some 1.6 million followers on Instagram. It's a lot of followers, as well as a sports journalist and an Israel advocate. Thank you for being with us. Emily, let me start with you. You're very active on social media, where Israel, the impression from here, is seemingly getting clobbered. First of all, how did you get into Israel advocacy on social media? And secondly, what should American Jews do to combat what's a very, serious anti-Israel narrative on social media?
Initially, this question was difficult for me to answer. When did I begin? Because my entire life, I've been an advocate, you can say, but if you don't have a global platform or any platform at all, your influence is limited. So when I was 16, I visited Poland and I saw the concentration camps, and it was very traumatizing. And I swore to myself, I'm going to reinforce never again. I'm going to make a difference. But how am I supposed to do that if I actually don't have an influence? I'm a high school student. I didn't know any of the information about Holocaust studies or Israel itself. And I was pretty much helpless. And that feeling of being helpless was such a horrible feeling. Now, of course, I didn't go on into journalism to say, I'm going to grow a platform and start advocating for Israel. But with the platform that I did grow throughout sports and entertainment, enabled me to suddenly actually have an influence. They call us influencers, which was hijacked by like Instagram models. But the whole point of being an influencer is to actually spread somewhat of influence. Now, I'm not marketing products all day, but I'm trying to share my knowledge with my audience. And I hope that in growing my platform, I can continuously do so, whether right now I'm putting all of my attention on Israel. But when the war in Ukraine broke out, I'm also talking about that. I also spoke about Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate. I think as somebody with a platform, it is my job to spread that awareness of what's happening in the world and what's important to me to spread.
What can Israel do, though, to get a better presence on social media, but more effective on social media?
A lot of people don't like this answer, but I blame us as in the Jewish people online. I mean, it's not anyone's fault per se, but when we're being outnumbered, and I know that a lot of it's bots from Qatar and Turkey, I'm very well aware. But when you see that someone's doing an Israel post, it's really not that hard to drop Israel flags in the comment, share the post, amplify it, help us break that horrible algorithm and that shadow ban that we are dealing with, because we're aware of it. And yes, it's not fair, but we already know that part. So now let's move on and let's do what we can do. So what can we do? Amplify Zionist voices, spread awareness, share truthful messages. If you're not comfortable being behind the camera, which I get, the least you can do is amplify the voices who are putting themselves out there. And those simple tasks can actually make the biggest change online.
Okay. Marjorie, let me turn to you, if I may. I understand you're coming back to Israel in the middle of the month to do a documentary on the war, on the tunnels in Gaza. What do you hope to do with that? I mean, what's the purpose of that, and what do you want to do with that documentary?
Well, answering the question that you asked, Emily, is what we can do in Canada or United States or in the Western world per se, that we have to fight with the truth. We have to show the facts. Now, I'm not Israeli, I'm not Palestinian, and I'm not Jewish, and I'm not Muslim. I'm Christian Egyptian, so I speak the language. I'm from the Middle East, and it's my responsibility to show the fact and the truth. For example, the IDF shows the video only to the media personnel, the 48 minutes media footage. It's basically, I saw that, it was horrible. Video like this have to go to the public, as much as it's horrible as it is. We have to get out of the box. We have to be honest. We have to be clear. We have to be aggressive, not by false accusation, not by propaganda like our enemy doing, but we have to show the truth, and that's where our documentary and my documentary coming to do.
You're in Toronto, Emily. You're in New York. Both of you have been exposed to these anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, even protests on the streets there. How significant are those? I mean, how important are they in shaping public opinion?
Well, they are important because they cause pressure, especially on the politicians when it comes to election. For example, the Prime Minister of Canada, he is more now pro-Palestinian, I believe, just because he doesn't want to lose the next election with a Muslim vote. However, these demonstrators have to answer one simple question. Where have you been? You are coming here talking about justice and standing in the streets and so on. Where have you been when Bashar al-Assad of Syria was killing his own people? Where have you been when Iran was killing their own women and children just because the woman refused to, did not put her hijab properly? Where have you been when Saudi Arabia attacked Yemen and killed more than 400,000 civilians? Where have you been when Taliban took over Afghanistan and refused that any woman can be educated or even leaving their home? Where have you been when the Chinese was killing the Uyghurs and put them in concentration camps? The truth here is, this is not just demonstration for peace. You can demonstrate as you want. We are in a free country. But you need to admit that this is part of the anti-Semitism that we see today.
Emily, is there anything you think that Israel or American Jews can do to combat those protests that we're seeing all over?
Unfortunately, I strongly believe the protesters are so dumb, quite frankly. They don't know any of the facts of the matter. I tried myself to engage in dialogue with some of the protesters, whether it was in Boston or Austin, Texas. I've encountered many of these protesters, and I literally asked them one question. I'm just like, let's talk. When was the last time Palestinians had sovereignty over the land? A prime minister? Tell me when they had a currency. Tell me when there was a famous person who came from Palestine. Just let's talk about the history of it. And they just scream in your face, free Palestine. So that's on the protest side. But I'd like to echo what he just said. It does shape public opinion. Even though they are dumb and they have no idea what they're talking about, it's still shaping public opinion. And I can share a different story. You know, I was a judge for Miss Universe, and all the girls from the countries have such large platforms all over the world, which is very influential. And one of the Miss Universe contestants posted Free Palestine. And she said, stop the slaughter of innocent civilians in Gaza, stop the ethnic cleansing, stop the genocide, all those buzzwords that I know she doesn't know what they mean. So I reached out to her and I asked her, why are you posting this? What do you know about the history? What do you know about the conflict? Let's talk about it. And she said, I don't really know what's going on, but I see on Instagram everyone supporting Gaza and I feel bad. So she just blatantly admitted that she has no idea what's going on, but because a lot of people think that way, suddenly she felt obliged to follow the rest of the crowd, which really bothered me because it shows that the whole world could be wrong, but if enough people say it, people start to believe it. So what I would say is arm yourself with knowledge. Study the facts. It's really not hard. It took me 30 minutes to master the last 100 years of Israeli history, just the last 100 years. 30 minutes, taking notes, watching YouTube video. I can share the link with you guys if you'd like. And having knowledge is the most valuable tool that you can have. Because you can combat all the narratives, not physically, but mentally. You can just be smarter than everyone else and you can outsmart them. And I think that's the best ammunition that you can have.
Majid, let me ask you a question. I mean, you're from Egypt. You have an expertise on what's going on in Egypt right now. Why is Egypt so adamantly opposed to taking in some of the Palestinian, the refugees from Gaza?
I will correct you. It's not just Egypt and all Arab Muslim countries refuse to take any of the refugees from Gaza, not just Egypt. Let's make this clear. And the reason that they are putting in the media is to say that to maintain the Palestinians in their own land. This is nonsense response. This is just political response in order to satisfy their own people, local groups, and so on. The main reason, because they know that every Palestinian refugee, whenever they arrive in anywhere in the country, whatever country, they made political trouble. For example, Lebanon, for example, Egypt, for example, even Jordan. We all remember the Black September when they almost overthrew the king of Jordan. What we are talking here about, that it's very important that we understand that even the Arab Muslim countries is not accepting Palestinian refugees because they simply cannot trust their integrity and not interference in the political arena within their own governments and within their own people. And that's very important that the whole world knows. If the Arab Muslim countries themselves does not want them, what that tells you about the conflict on the ground?
Another question, an Egypt-related question. I know that in Israel, after President Sisi came to power in 2014, there was a lot of talk about how he flooded the tunnels and how he was putting an end to the arms smuggling. We woke up on October 7th and we saw the incredible arsenal that Hamas has acquired in Gaza. We've blockaded the sea, so that's coming through the Egyptian border. How does that happen? I mean, did he destroy the tunnels? Is there, at the Rafah border crossing, are the Egyptian soldiers there letting stuff go through? What's going on?
Well, you have to understand this is not just the failure of the Egyptian Authority and turning a blind eye in all of this weapon that was smuggled through the Egyptian borders. Is 100%. There is many elements. Number one, they cannot control the tunnels. In Sinai, especially in Sinai and the border with Rafah, we saw that there is many tunnels even from local homes all the way to Gaza. But also within the corruption, within the security system, where you can simply give a simple bribe as low as $50 or even $100, and you can just let trucks go as nobody knows what's inside the trucks. But also turning blind eye because the Egyptian Authority want to maintain the peace with Hamas. They are not in a good term. And many times during Mohammed Morsi, we saw that Hamas was directly involved in creating what we call Wilayat Sina, which is a branch of ISIS. And it did create a lot of trouble to the Egyptians. And when President Sisi came to the power, they have to flush them and they have to fight them because they did a lot of terror activity in Egypt. So in a sense, the Egyptian government want to maintain the peace with Hamas by turning blind eye on some of these weapons and hoping to keep them just a friendship relationship. But we have also addressed that this is not just the fault of the Egyptian Authority or turning blind eye with their cooperation, but also is a failure of the Israeli intelligence. Because we know that some of these weapons was created and was maintained by Iran directly and fully. We are aware of that. And quite honestly, as we are talking right now on the border with Rafah, especially Philadelphia crossing, I think it should be under the Israeli control, not the Egyptian control.
Okay. Emily, let me go back to you, if I may. You're a high-profile American Jew who's come to Israel, has shown very public support on social media for Israel. There's a lot of high-profile Jews in America, celebrities, entertainers, musicians, with the exception of a few people, Seinfeld, Deborah Messing, Michael Rappaport. There hasn't been an outpouring of support from these Jewish influentials in America for Israel. Why do you think that is? I mean, is it they're afraid of their careers? They've turned their back on Israel? Well, what's your explanation?
They're cowards. I cannot express enough how little respect I have for those who, in the face of evil, will choose to turn the blind eye. And I want to really emphasize in the face of evil, because unlike the Holocaust, where the Germans tried to hide their crimes and erase all of the evidence, what Hamas did was completely the opposite. They abused people, burnt people, raped people, beheaded people, but made sure that the entire world saw what they did, and they amplified it as best as they could. So if you're going to still see these crimes, you're going to see these horrendous murders happen right before your eyes, and you're still going to choose to stay silent, a coward is a compliment for you. These people, maybe they think that their careers are at stake or they might lose a job. And hey, I get it, but what's more important than being a good, how about this, not being an evil person, not supporting evil? You know, some people think silence is okay, but silence is compliant when you're literally in the face of a terrorist group that is telling you that you are next. All of these Americans that are staying silent about Hamas, let me tell you something. Which will never happen, but if they ever do move on from their obsession with Israel, America is next. The West is next. When someone tells you they want to kill you, believe them. So your cowardness is only going to hurt yourself in the long run. You're putting on a little Band-Aid for something that's going to burst open, and it might just be too late to express your concern then.
Thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for now, but I want to thank you both for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our final interview will be with well-known reality actress Aliza Ben Shalom, the star of Jewish matchmaking show on Netflix. Aliza is traveling and will speak with us from the United States, where she is filming a future episode. She will be interviewed by Tamar Uriel Berry.
Aliza, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me, what is the first thing you asked someone coming to you to look for a shidduch, looking for matchmaking?
So most people want to ask, what are you looking for? What do you want? And what I want to know is, what do you bring to the table, right? Who are you and what do you actually offer? To me, that is so much more valuable than knowing what you want. I'm not worried about it. We'll dig into it. We'll learn about what you want. But what I really want to know is, what do you offer? And basically, why are you a great catch?
So you're basically asking not what you're looking for, not the to-do list, so-called to-do list, but rather, what are you bringing that'll help you better find the right matching soul, if you will?
Yeah, exactly. And that's at first. I'll get the to-do list later. No problem.
Those are still on the table. Got it. So I'm curious, how would you compare Jewish matchmaking, shidduchim, to other cultures' matchmaking? What's so unique about this in particular?
What's so unique about Jewish matchmaking is that it's not just find me a Jewish partner and poof, everything will be fine. We'll have everything aligned. Even within our Judaism, we are so nuanced. We're such a unique people. So you can't just find me somebody Jewish and it's just going to work. People are like, oh, I got a Jewish friend. You, let's stick you together. Oh, you're nice. You're similar area, blah, blah. But if we don't know where you are on the Jewish spectrum, how you like to observe your holidays, if you observe your holidays, to what degree you observe your holidays. Do you pray? How often do you pray, right? If we don't understand those things, we actually can't make a good match. And we could have a personality match. We could have other things, values that are in alignment. You might not irritate me or bother me as a human being. I might really enjoy being around you, but those things ultimately are actually not enough. We have to really know how our Judaism aligns and where those similarities are.
Amazing. So I'm curious, if we're already relating specifically Judaism and this unique faith to the way that couples are formed, are there any biblical couples that you take inspiration from in your matchmaking?
Actually, yes. So Abraham sent out Eliezer to find a wife for Yitzchak. This is the first time that we hear about a shadchan, right? way back, the very first job that ever existed in the world was really a matchmaker. Okay, it's not the very first job, but you get my point. It's one of these early things that people were already doing. And he sent Eliezer out, and Eliezer on his way as this matchmaker is like, oh my gosh, God, you're the matchmaker. You better give me a sign. I got to know that this is right. And think about it. How many of us, when we're looking for our soulmate, we ask for a sign? Just like Eliezer, we want to know, how do I know that this is the right match? And Eliezer's like, look, no, all right. If she gives me water and my camel's water, I'll know that she's so kind. She's a really, really beautiful, good human. That's how I'm going to know, right? And we know, giving Eliezer water is not really a big deal, but feeding all of his camels water, she could be there for days. So that's really an example that I take a lot of lessons, a lot of strength from.
It's very relatable.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Totally.
I think that for people outside of the Jewish culture, it's kind of difficult understanding when they're looking inwards. What was that specific aspect like working on Jewish matchmaking with Netflix?
So I had to give them kind of a little bit of a taste of Judaism so that they could understand not just how we operate within matchmaking, but even within filming. So I told them, we don't roll on Shabbos. You can't film me on Shabbos because I observe the Sabbath. They're like, okay. I was like, I keep kosher. They're like, okay. I was like, no, don't put me in a hotel. there's not always a kosher restaurant where we go. So give me an Airbnb. I'm going to kosher the kitchen. And by the way, I need pots and pans. So bring me a suitcase so that I can have all of my kosher pots and pans. And I have my traveling kitchen with me. And they're like, okay, what else? And I'm like, well, I kind of observe Shomer Negia. You know, I don't touch and shake men's hands. And I usually give people a heads up. I'll give them a nice wave, a hello, a big, friendly, warm welcome, but I'm not going to shake their hands. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, yeah. But, you know, the list keeps going. They were so responsive. They were so supportive. It was actually really refreshing. They just wanted to know who I was, what were my customs, and how could they be respectful of that. It was really wonderful to work with them.
Though I'm sure that they were experiencing quite a culture shock at the time.
It's totally different. I also told them, like, by the way, we have these holidays, so here's the days I can't work. And I'm listing off, 27 days, and I'm totally just not available because of all of the holidays. They're like, okay, and what about this? I'm like, well, not the day before and then not the day after. Like, okay, we got it. So, they really worked with me. They were actually incredible. I really only have very positive things to share.
So what would you consider something that non-Jewish people can take into their relationships to make them healthier, to learn from Judaism?
Something that we talk about in Judaism is Shomer Negia. It's guarding our touch. And I'm somebody that's all for physical touch. I have no problem with it. I think it's a great thing and we need it. But when we touch bodies before we actually touch hearts or souls, when we don't connect from the inside and we only connect from the outside, it's a fail and it's a lose every single time. So I try to give people what I call the 5-date challenge, which is like, hey, how about if you don't touch for 5 dates? Let's see what happens. And they're like, what? I'm like, look, if you like them, whatever. I'm not looking after date 6. It's all on you. But for 5 dates, I want to know that you like the human that's there. And when that happens, I actually know that both sides are interested because there is nobody that's sticking around for 5 dates without physical touch. So I think this is something that's not just for Jewish dating. This is for anybody in the world that they can learn from this way of dating, and you can really simplify the process and get through it much faster and easier.
So what would you consider to be some good general advice for a healthy relationship?
For a healthy relationship, a lot of people talk about compatibility and laughter and love and all of these things, and those are great. But if you do not have the mindset of we, you and I together, we are going to build a relationship, we are going to move forward, we are going to figure this out, it doesn't matter what tools you have. Because being marriage-minded means that we are we-centered and we are we-focused. And it's not about I need this and I'm not getting this and this isn't working for me. So the best advice that I can give is start with a we mindset. And then from there, we need all of the other skills. We need communication, we need play, we need banter, we need love, we need affection, but start with the we mindset.
So it's not 2 units necessarily, but one with 2 individuals taking parts.
Yeah, that was a great summary. That's exactly it.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Eliza. I know that I have learned a lot about relationships in Judaism.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being a part of our Israel Summit virtual experience, honoring the strength and the resilience of the State of Israel.
You'll be able to go back and watch this video and select excerpts on our website at www.jpost.com or on our social media channels. At the Jerusalem Post, we're proud to be the gateway between Israel and the world. We hope today's broadcast provided you with knowledge and inspiration. Thank you for celebrating Israel in such challenging times.